What's up, lore masters? Let's take a look at a pretty iconic scene that is really well known and loved in the Trek fandom. But I'll be surprised if you guys don't see this on the same day that I'm doing it, so it's probably 2 days later. This stuff usually takes that long for CBS because they have a pretty tight rein on everything and they're a petty company. Let's get into it.
No! You'll flood the whole compartment!
While I was asked to do a scene analysis and breakdown of this video, I'll admit that they don't do a lot of fanciful work with the camera, or really anything on the production side. The actors are doing all the work, as we've seen in the past. It is intriguing to watch the camera go from a wide shot to a medium close-up, which makes it more personal, and we get to see the strife on Kirk's face, but again, he's doing all the work. Though I will admit the grabbing of Kirk feels a bit casual, but to be fair, the Admiral wasn't rushing in. He was just walking forward with a plan. He was going to open it. Kirk wasn't crazed, he wasn't running, he was just determined. He needed to save his friend.
No! You'll flood the whole compartment!
He'll die. He's dead already.
This is a wonderful piece of writing and well acted. He's dead already, stated by Scotty, is with a sincere earnesty, and it just knocks Kirk back into reality. Spock was going to die. There's nothing that his best friend can do about that. There is so much passion and emotion that's just locked here. It's fantastic.
It's too late.
Huh, I guess they just forgot to add the transporter sound effect because this guy goes from here to here magically. Also, what the hell is he doing down there? While it may not seem like much, it takes quite a bit of skill and quite a lot of math to really get a good shot through a reflective material or object and not have the reflection of the camera showing. I'm not sure if they had something draped over the camera in the same material as Kirk and the engineer, so it just looks like it was their reflection and not that of the camera person, or they positioned it in a way that just nailed it. But either way, it's really well done. Also, a really small piece here that is easy to miss is Kirk mouthing the name Spock. Since it appears that we, as the audience, are supposed to be looking from Spock's point of view, it's quite possible that the Vulcan couldn't hear Kirk until he hit some form of button. He has to reach over and tap it. Him mouthing the name adds so much more passion to it, so much more feeling, that I'm really glad that it's there, and the fact that you could easily miss it just adds something to it.
Spock!
I know I keep saying this, but I have to admit it's the actors that make this anywhere near powerful, and honestly, this little detail is my favorite part. It carries the entire scene. Like the mouthing of the word Spock, there are little details that keep being added. Spock stands up and straightens his uniform. He wants to look presentable for the Admiral and his friend. It's very Vulcan. I did some research to determine if hitting the glass was in the script, was an accident, or added by Nimoy. I couldn't really find anything, but it definitely adds to the point of how hurt Spock is.
Ship. Out of danger.
Yes.
Don't grieve, Admiral. Just logical. The needs of the many outweigh
The needs of the few.
Or the one.
I do love this dialogue, but man, is that logic used to justify some horrific things. Tuvix did nothing wrong. Additionally, the fact that Spock seems fragile here and Kirk is having to finish his sentences is very moving. We do have a mid-wide shot of them both at eye level looking at each other. They are friends, they're peers, they're family, and they're saying goodbye on an even level.
I never took the Kobayashi Maru test. Until now. What do you think of my solution? Spock.
This is a good tie-in to the beginning of the movie, as well as a subtle showing of the evolution for Spock. Think about it. Spock just gave a macabre joke. He joked with Kirk. It shows us a lot about him, even with his dying breath.
I have been, and always shall be, your friend. Live long and prosper.
In behind-the-scenes resources, it appears that people were tearing up and crying at this scene. Most everyone thought that Spock was dying for real. In fact, it was television executives that wanted to bring him back, something of which director Nicholas Meyer, the best storyteller and director of Trek for his time, fought pretty hard against. He thought it was insulting to the audience to kill a character just to bring them back, but admitted that was wrong later when fans loved it.
Live long and prosper.
No.
The swell of the Trek music until it moves into something more dire versus that uplifting tone that we generally hear in the theme. I would remove the half-hearted no here, but beyond that, everything is so intense. Everything is so potent, it's wonderful. And the last shot is us seeing a dead Spock and a defeated Kirk. They're just sitting there. The weight of the story is just falling upon everyone. It then fades into what I'm guessing is a close-up of a toy.
And yet it should be noted that in the midst of our sorrow, this death takes place in the shadow of new life, the sunrise of a new world, a world that our beloved comrade gave his life to protect and nourish. He did not feel this sacrifice a vain or empty one, and we will not debate his profound wisdom at these proceedings.
I've always wondered if Kirk was talking to himself here to a degree. We won't debate his wisdom. Kirk didn't want Spock to die, and might have tried to stop him before it was too late if he had the chance. I wonder if this is him coming to terms with that. Again, this is all on the shoulders of Kirk. There's not really a lot that we're doing with the camera language. It's shot, reverse shot.
Of my friend, I can only say this. Of all the souls I have encountered in my travels, his was the most human.
This is a really good send-off, and I love Kirk just trying to hold it together with the compliment. Okay. To give a little bit of history, one thing you will notice is the further we go back in time, the more likely I won't be commenting on the way the camera or cinematography is done. This is because that, while it doesn't feel like it, the movies we grew up with were still in the infancy stage of movie making. It's true that the first movie theaters began to spring up around early 1900s, but solid filmmaking and actual corporations pushing film didn't happen for decades later. And it wasn't until the digital revolution of the 90s that things began to get very complex. Even at this point, the film language was generally simplistic. Now, whether you like that or not comes down to how you enjoy filmmaking. This style definitely relies on the actors a lot. If the actors are on point, it's going to be a wonderful movie. If they're not, then it won't. Now, I know I'm probably going to go against the grain, but I don't think this was William Shatner's best outing. But it was definitively Leonard Nimoy's. It's still a very wonderfully done part of the movie and critical to the story. And I do think that it's probably in the top 10 scenes when it comes to Star Trek overall. But these are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below.